This is CBN NewsWatch.
And thanks for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Heather Sells. We begin with 29 major fires burning in California. New evacuations are underway as historic fires and thick smoke continue to blanket many parts of the West Coast. In the last week, at least 25 people have been killed in California, Oregon, and Washington, and dozens are still missing. The North Complex fire in Northern California has destroyed 2,000 structures. Authorities are urging residents to stay inside as toxic smoke blocks the sun and poses serious health risks for millions.
It is apocalyptic. I drove 600 miles up and down the state. I never escaped the smoke.
A record 3.3 million acres have burned in the Golden State this year. CBN contributor Chuck Holton was on the ground to give us a look.
The smoke coming from this 175,000-acre fire is almost overwhelming up here, just about an hour to the east of Fresno, California. And it's blanketing all of Southern California, all the way to Las Vegas, Nevada. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, according to some of the officials who say that this blanket of smoke is part of what is helping to contain this fire.
And President Trump is in California today for a briefing on the fires and a look at the damage. Well, in the South, another natural disaster is brewing. The National Hurricane Center reports that Tropical Storm Sally has now become a hurricane. Sally is expected to make landfall early tomorrow as a Category 1 or 2 hurricane. Officials have ordered mandatory evacuations and declared states of emergency in Louisiana and Mississippi. The storm's projected path has New Orleans taking a direct hit. It is a similar track that Hurricane Katrina took 15 years ago. Forecasters say the biggest threat is flooding. The storm has already dumped more than 9 inches of rain in South Florida. Forecasters predict as much as 2 feet falling in some areas along the Gulf Coast, bringing life-threatening storm surge.
We have really good reason to be very concerned about this storm. Particularly because it is going to be a very slow-moving storm.
The threat from Sally comes less than 3 weeks after Hurricane Laura plowed into southwest Louisiana. More than 60,000 customers are still without power from Laura. Well, a gunman in Los Angeles ambushed 2 police deputies over the weekend, shooting them point blank multiple times. L.A. police are still searching for the shooter as the deputies appear to be recovering. On the presidential campaign trail, the candidates are taking different approaches to this escalating crisis of crime. Dale Hurd has more.
The L.A. County Sheriff's Department has announced a $100,000 reward for the arrest of the gunman, and the shooting has already become a campaign issue. 2 Los Angeles sheriff's deputies were left fighting for their lives after being shot multiple times Saturday night. Disturbing surveillance video showed a man dressed in black walk up to the deputy's vehicle near the Compton Metro station and then fire a gun into the car before running away.
He acted as if he was going to walk past the car, and then he made a left turn directly toward the car, raised a pistol, and fired several rounds inside of the vehicle, striking both of the sheriff's deputies.
The deputies are a 31-year-old mother of a 6-year-old and a 24-year-old man who was sworn in only 14 months ago. After the shooting, demonstrators then went to the hospital and tried to block the emergency room entrance. One shouted that he hoped the deputies died.
They were saying death to the police, kill the police, and they were using all type of curse words and derogatory terms about the police.
Los Angeles Mayor Eric Garcetti told CNN there's no place in civilized society for those who wish the deputies would die.
I won't ever let a couple voices that not only are uncalled for, but it's abhorrent to say something like that when we have 2 deputies who are sheriff deputies in grave condition.
President Trump and Joe Biden both tweeted condemnations of the attack early Sunday. Then Biden tweeted again calling for a ban on assault weapons, while Trump called the shootings part of the war on the police.
The radical left in America is waging open war on law enforcement. Hundreds of officers nationwide have been injured. in left-wing riots and mobs.
This takes place amid violent protests nationwide and calls for defunding of police by leftist groups, including the Black Lives Matter movement, which is openly Marxist.
Myself and Alicia in particular are trained organizers. We are trained Marxists. We are super versed on sort of ideological theories.
Meanwhile, the city manager of Linwood, outside of Compton, is facing criticism because after the shooting, he posted that the chickens have come home to roost, the quote Malcolm X used following the assassination of President Kennedy. Thankfully, both deputies are expected to recover. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
And for the latest from our nation's capital, be sure to tune in to Faith Nation this evening. It's right here on the CBN News Channel. And now on to the latest on the coronavirus pandemic. U.S. Secretary of Education Betsy DeVos is in Michigan today visiting a Catholic school to see how it has safely reopened. DeVos met with students, teachers, and staff at Sacred Heart Academy in Grand Rapids, one of the few districts in West Michigan to return to in-person learning. She toured classrooms to see how the school is keeping kids safe while learning, noting smaller class sizes and social distancing measures in place. At a roundtable, DeVos said for many students and families, the best environment is in-person learning.
Schools should be prepared to go back to school in person, and that should be an option for families because we know for many families that's the right choice for their child or their children. And what we have been doing from day one is supporting states and districts with as much flexibility as we're able to grant under law from the federal level.
The New York Times is reporting that COVID-19 cases are down 17% over the past week. Well, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will be here in Washington for tomorrow's signing of a historic peace agreement with not one, but two Arab countries. As CBN Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell reports, this follows Friday's announcement that Bahrain is joining the UAE in normalizing relations with the Jewish state.
Netanyahu called it a pivot of history toward peace.
It took us a full 26 years from Israel's second peace agreement with an Arab state to the third peace agreement. And now it's taken us only 29 days from the third peace agreement to the fourth. What a change.
That followed last month's announcement by the United Arab Emirates they would normalize ties with Israel. Netanyahu says the achievements will make a major impact for all involved.
This is a new era of peace for which I've been working for 25 years. These agreements will be a union of political peace and economic peace. They will flow billions of dollars into our economy and investments, economic cooperation and ventures.
President Trump broke the news that Bahrain would join the peace effort.
They will exchange embassies and ambassadors, begin direct flights between their countries, and launch cooperation initiatives across a broad range of sectors, including health, business, technology, education, security, and agriculture. This is a truly historic day.
American Rabbi Mark Schneier says there was more than one factor pushing the agreements forward at this time.
First, you have this raging pandemic. It's only a natural alliance for the Gulf and for Israel to combat this virus together. You have the existentialist threat that continues to come from Iran, wanting to strengthen relations with the U.S. administration, and both the UAE and Bahrain were very concerned about the possibility of annexation on the part of the state of Israel. That was one of the contributing factors that created the tension to make this deal.
Schneier told CBN News the deals would be good for everyone.
When the King of Bahrain said to me time and time again that our only guarantee for a strong, moderate Arab presence in the Gulf is a strong Israel, the Gulf is looking to the state of Israel to be its defender, to be its protector.
Trump will preside over Tuesday's signing and says it's only the beginning, and indicated he expected others to follow quickly.
The momentum in the Gulf is to normalize ties, to make peace with Israel. It's a win-win, both for the Gulf and for the state of Israel.
There are 4 more Gulf states and other Muslim countries that could make peace with Israel. Chris Mitchell, CBN News.
Coming up, how a new online ministry is ministering to thousands during the pandemic. But before we go to break, here's a look at what's trending on CBNNews.com.
Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep as the world watches from the outside.
It's a big diplomatic tug-of-war here in the Middle East.
Go inside the story with Jerusalem Dateline.
Israeli archaeologists are talking about a discovery that could change the thinking about the Temple Mount.
Join CBN Jerusalem Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell and get the biblical perspective on the events shaping the world.
What starts in Israel then ends up going to other places.
Watch Jerusalem Dateline, Friday night at 9:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
Evangelist Tim Bisagno is the founder of Mission X Television, a TV show aimed at reaching people for Christ. And in January, he founded a Safe Place Online, a 24/7 live chat and text ministry designed to help hurting young people. In the last couple of months, it has taken off, and Tim Bisagno is here now to tell us what is happening. Tim, thanks for joining us. So interesting that you started this ministry in January. Of course, none of us knowing what was going to happen. What has been your vision and purpose for this?
Hey, man, yeah, it's providential. Thank you for having me, Heather. Yes, ma'am. So a safeplaceonline.com is a new evangelism arm, an entity of MXTV, a long-standing 25-year-old media ministry existing to reach young adults and teens. And so this is the newest thing that the Lord has done. We wanted to jump in there and make a difference and interrupt their streams. And the Lord is using it just mightily.
And so tell us how it works. It sounds like you are placing ads and reaching out on social media, and you're really gearing this towards a much younger audience.
Yes, ma'am. So much has changed since we started in youth culture. In essence, we have found that they want acceptance and they want hope, but yet feel kind of trapped and enticed by this digital world. And so a Safe Place Online exists to offer hope. And we're seeing that when kids, young people encounter Jesus, then they find out they've been accepted all along. It's glorious to see.
Well, it's so interesting, too, because I understand that you have been seeing a lot more salvations, and you've been seeing them this summer. So how do you see perhaps the pandemic and the times we live in affecting people's sense of, I need to get help or I need to get right with the Lord?
Yeah, amen. Well, something is desperately wrong in our culture and in the young people's lives. And so I believe that what we're doing is we're seeing the benefits. We're reaping a harvest literally, of the lies that they were told that the enemy meant for bad, that the Lord is meant for good, by telling them that there's no such thing as truth. And so they're finding that didn't work, and they're trying to desperately find what does work. And so, yes, so we put ads on Facebook and Instagram and Google to interrupt their streams. We're finding that interrupting is working, not inviting. So we're putting the truth in front of them and giving them a chance to respond to the gospel 24/7. It's been crazy. The first couple months, the salvations were somewhat minimal, and then boy, in June we saw 303 salvations. Our goal through the year was to somehow maybe reach 333 a month, and the Lord brought almost that in June, and then in July, and in August we saw 432 young people say yes to Jesus. Man,
this is great. And you never know in these times what's going to click with a person, but this is great that this ministry is doing that. What is your hope for a safe place online going forward?
Oh, boy, I'll tell you. Thank you for asking. So the original goal was to see 333 yeses to Jesus. The Lord has moved that needle, and he's asking me to believe for 999. And I asked him, Lord, why 999? Why not 1,000 more? Woo! He said to me, because I care more about that one than you do. That's what we see in Matthew 18:12, where he leaves the 99 to rescue and go find and pursue that one. So our goal is that we would see 999 young people say yes to Jesus every single month from now on through the history. And I have a feeling because of the harvest that we're in, the Lord's going to move that needle, praise the Lord, one more time.
Well, this is great news. Tim, I thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for coming on the show today, and we are trusting for all the best with this ministry. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Still ahead, why so many parents in Texas are pulling their children from public schools and opting to homeschool instead.
On October 1st, 1961, history was made when a tiny station began transmitting the first signals of the Christian Broadcasting Network.
CBN, the Christian Broadcasting Network.
And now, a new era has begun with the all-new CBN News Channel.
Just moments ago, the Iron Dome intercepted an incoming rocket right on the Gaza border.
Administering in this area, spiritual warfare is definitely involved.
A 24/7 news network, bringing you the news you want from a source you can trust.
In Kenya, 40% of the medical services are actually provided by these Christian hospitals.
Let's talk about the economy.
Believers here are joining together to win people to Jesus Christ.
All your favorite shows now in one place. Go to CBNNewsChannel.com to find out how to get the CBN News Channel on your TV all day, every day. CBN News. Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
Families pulling their kids out of public schools in favor of homeschooling is going up in Texas. It rose 300% in August from just over 1,000 families last year compared to more than 4,000 this year. That's according to the Texas Homeschool Coalition. And FaithWire.com, Trey Goins-Phillips joins us now with the story. Trey, this is interesting. So why this big jump to homeschooling in Texas?
Yeah, so Texas is just the area that we've got some really current numbers, but we're seeing it happening across the country. I think the pandemic is giving American families and parents of young children in particular the unique opportunity to look at something in a way they maybe haven't looked at it before. As kids are going back into the classroom, they're seeing how a lot of these restrictions, because of the pandemic, a lot of the bureaucratic red tape is really a headache than anything else, and it's becoming a barrier to quality education. So parents are kind of re-examining what education looks like, and homeschooling is becoming a viable option for a lot of Americans where it might not have been even 6 months or a year ago.
Right. It's so interesting. And I know for private Christian schools, too, a number of them are seeing their enrollment go up. Do you think this homeschooling trend is more of a temporary blip, families responding to what's in front of them right now and it's chaos, so they figure we'll just homeschool? Or do you think this might be, the beginning of more of a long-term shift to homeschooling?
Well, you mentioned, Heather, that a lot of private schools, Christian schools, are getting their enrollment numbers increasing as well as homeschooling increasing. I think this is a trend that certainly has maybe been catalyzed by the pandemic, but I think it's a shift that's here to stay because, like I said previously, parents are starting to see what comes with and what doesn't come with the public school education, and they're starting to have concerns. I think they're getting a window in to the classroom because kids are learning via Skype and Zoom classes with their parents sitting in the next room or sitting nearby their children. They're seeing what's going on in the classroom, what they like, what they don't like, and they're starting to see maybe there's a better alternative. Maybe my kid is getting a lot of progressive education that doesn't align with my faith beliefs, or maybe the quality of the attention they're receiving isn't really up to standard. So they're exploring other options. And I have friends and family who are educators from grade school all the way up to college. And like I said, too, they're seeing all this bureaucratic red tape, and it's just overwrought with restrictions, and it's getting in the way of learning.
Well, it is such a tough time, I know, for parents to figure out what is best for their children. What else do you think with our faith and culture might be playing into the trends that we're seeing right now?
Yeah, I think we're seeing a lot, particularly in this time right now. We're experiencing so much racial unrest. We're also experiencing a tough economy. So I think our emotions are on high alert right now. We're just in a tough place as a nation with all this rioting and all this. Everything is so politicized, right? So I think some of that is playing out in our education. Like I mentioned, parents are able to watch what's going on in the classroom, and they're disapproving of a lot of what's happening. And so they're re-examining what their education is going to look like. And I think faith is playing a big role in that because they're seeing my kids are learning things, whether it's about sexuality, race relations, or government, how politics should interact in our world. They're seeing things that they disagree with, and they want to stop that from continuing to happen because they don't want to see an indoctrination of their children, especially when it's the complete opposite. It's a 180-degree turn from the kind of values they're trying to teach at home.
What do you think are some of the things parents need to think about in deciding between home, public, and private school for their children?
Yeah, so 10 to 15 years ago, homeschooling looked a lot different than it did now. The technology has advanced so much that it's a lot easier, perhaps, than it used to be. So I think that's something that parents need to keep in mind as they navigate this possibility. Also, I know possibly a negative impact is because of these restrictions, because of what's happened with the coronavirus and how it's changed the classroom. A lot of parents might have to navigate, particularly if they're a two-career family. What does work look like in the future? Does one of the parents have to quit their job, or do they maybe need to rearrange their schedule? So that's something to think about. But also, as I mentioned, because it looks so much different, because technology has advanced so much as it pertains to home education, it's a lot more flexible than it used to be. There are a lot more options than there used to be. So I think this is the perfect opportunity. 2020 is a great time for parents to take maybe a new look, a fresh look at what home education or even private Christian education might look like and if it would be a good fit for them.
Yeah, a lot of decisions. All right, Trey Goins-Phillips, thanks for your insights and for bringing us this story.
Thank you.
And you can catch FaithWire's Faith versus Culture with Dan Andros and Dale Partridge right here on the CBN News Channel tonight at 9:30 Eastern. After the break, why thousands gathered on the beaches of California this weekend and what special moment they celebrated.
Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
I'm Ephraim Graham, and this is Studio 5. Cruise with me as I discover the good things happening in the world of music, sports, television, and movies.
The fact that Ryan Coogler was going to be directing the film, I knew that something special was going to happen.
We'll chat with artists at the forefront of entertainment and explore the connection between popular culture and faith.
I asked my pastor, I said, well, does that mean I'm supposed to be a preacher? He says, well, no, you already have a pulpit.
Watch Studio 5 Wednesday night at 9:30.
Remember for a moment what it was like to be a child. You believed every story you were told. You saw a world full of endless possibilities. What stories will the world's orphaned and at-risk children believe? We believe the Bible tells the only story truly worth believing. We believe that every child should have the opportunity to dream, the chance to take challenges and turn them into possibilities, the chance to stand on the promises of God, to recognize their place in the greatest story ever told. They have their whole lives ahead of them. Theirs is a world of endless possibilities. They are looking for a story to believe. We will tell them that story. Will you join us?
A church in California is rejoicing over a record number of baptisms that took place over the weekend. Calvary Chapel Church in Chino Hills held an outdoor baptism in Newport Beach on Saturday. The church's director, Gina Gleason, told CBN that they typically baptize around 300 people at these events, but this weekend saw over 3 times that. Gleason says nearly 1,000 people gathered at Pirates Cove and made a public declaration of their faith in Jesus Christ. She also said that California may be experiencing a spiritual revival. And that's it for this edition of CBN News Watch. Please remember, you can find more of our news programs on the CBN News Channel at any time or online with cbnnews.com. And also, please tell us what you think about the stories that you've seen by emailing newswatch@cbn.com or just talk to us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We hope that you will join us next time. Have a great day.